Just 2 days before the last presidential debate, Georgia voters started coming out to vote in what is being called one of the craziest election cycles that we have seen in a long time. You missed some of the deals, that's okay. Target is going to be open tonight, all night long until 11 o'clock tomorrow. There were some complaints about subcontractors getting low wages. However, I was told by a member of that group that they worked out their differences with the company reps. People in this apartment complex on Regent Street are concerned about their safety. Now, if we take a look at this car, you can see how deep the water is. Normally, if you see an ambulance at a tailgate, that could mean some serious emergency. 2 people are hurt after a late-night crash Friday in the town of Bristol. Witnesses say Stoltz was armed with a flare gun and threatening people during a confrontation on Camden Road. Tonight, new details into an investigation involving Wisconsin's troubled youth prison. Another burglary happened around 6 o'clock last night after a caller reported they found someone going through their car. The death toll in the attack on an Egyptian mosque now stands at more than 300.
It's been a challenge.
Joe Miller isn't sure when he'll be back at work in his shop in downtown Sun Prairie. Elite Embroidery and Screen Printing has been closed since the gas explosion Tuesday that killed firefighter Corey Barr.
And obviously it's a terrible tragedy, and it's a really tight-knit community. I know these folks well in their businesses.
His business, which sits on the corner of Main and Bristol Streets, suffered major damage.
I don't know how it wasn't worse, honestly. Our ceiling basically blew out in the showroom. The foundation's cracking. The windows stayed, which is good. But yeah, there's definitely some damage. The ceiling kind of caving in a little bit.
With no workroom and no electricity in the building, Miller and his employees had to find other spaces to fulfill orders.
We're going in 2-minute shifts. We've got employees working out of their garages, basements, trying to pump orders out. So not the most ideal, but obviously with the circumstances, it is what it is.
And the losses are beginning to pile up.
Yeah, I mean, it's sizable. We put on a good day, 50, 100 orders out the door. So, every day is, do the math, however, if it's a week, 50 times that.
Once they finally get back into the building, he's not quite sure just how quickly they'll recover.
We'll get in there and get the, the nuts and bolts working. But as far as being up to full business, I got to think it's going to be a long time because there's going to obviously be some major work needs to be done in our shop.
Never had anything like this happen in my life.
Rodney Clark was enjoying dinner at a local restaurant Saturday evening when he received an unwelcome phone call.
I got on the phone, it was Corey Heaps, and he said, Rodney, you got to get home.
When Clark arrived at his house, he was shocked at what he found.
I walked into my home, and there was trees in my kitchen.
Strong winds pushed this large tree, sending it crashing into his house.
It's actually 3 trees were pulled and uprooted.
About 20 minutes after 5 o'clock, I noticed strong rain curtains wrapping up on the lake here, rotating violently, and you could hear it coming.
Destroying the kitchen and the deck.
I was in a little bit of shock. I just bought this house last year.
Clark didn't think that the wind alone could possibly knock over a tree this size. Now he's looking at possibly tens of thousands of dollars worth of damage.
If they were to able just fix the top floor, I'm thinking somewhere $100K mark.
Although the house is heavily damaged, Clark knows it could have been much worse.
I feel very fortunate to be alive, that we were not there and nobody else was in the house, because that could have been very bad.
I was scared than scared.
As Sarah Young lays in a UW-Madison hospital, she thinks back to the event that got her there.
I didn't know what was going on, didn't know where I was. I was scared. I was cold.
While driving near her parents' home near Cuba City in Grant County, she blacked out and crashed her car into a creek. The 34-year-old was unconscious inside the partially submerged car for more than an hour before waking up. She wasn't sure how she would get out as the water begun to rise.
It started sprinkling, and there was already enough water in the creek. I didn't know what was going to happen.
Luckily, her cell phone landed on the dashboard, and she was able to call her family.
It took me less than 10 minutes to get here, and when I arrived here, my brother and my stepdad were standing on the bridge back there.
Young's sister is part of the local EMS team, so when she arrived at the scene and saw her sister's car submerged, she knew she was at the right place at the right time.
The biggest thing was trying to keep her calm in the car until the rest of the EMS and fire department could arrive so that we could get her out safely.
Young was in a lot of pain, but felt a certain comfort knowing her family was there.
My family is the greatest family in the world.
But just being able to talk her down a little bit and to be able to comfort her, and it probably helped the fact that I am her sister.
Young was taken to the hospital and is doing better, but if not for her sister's EMS training, this story could have had a much different ending.
Oh my gosh, that was just my sister in that life-threatening situation. But the training kicked in, and I did what I was supposed to do.
One of a kind. Good sister. Very good.
In Grant County, David Johnson, 27 News.